Hey, what's going on, Virgo? This is your monthly forecast for the month of April 2016. Welcome. And this is for anybody that has sun, moon, or rising sign in the sign of Virgo. So just very quickly, before we get to your reading, I just wanted to mention that I do offer readings, personal readings. So if you would like a live reading from me, click the link in the description box, go to livevisions.com to my readers page, and the first 10 minutes of your reading are free in the month of April if you're a first-time caller. So I would love to speak with you about relationships, career, love, anything that you need clarity on. Also, I offer recorded readings, so you can order those by either emailing me at my email address below or on livevisions.com as well. And I would love to do a video for you that includes personalized monthly horoscopes as well, because these are very general. All right, so on to your horoscope, Virgo. All right, so let's start out with the sun. The sun is continuing to be in the sign of Aries. And for Virgos, this is in your 8th house. The 8th house is the house of rebirth and transformation. It's the house of the subconscious mind, very deep subconscious thoughts. It's also the house of joint finances and any type of income that you get that is not earned income by a job. So insurance, taxes, benefits, things like that. The sun has been there since the end of March and continues to highlight this area of your life. So maybe you have been taking a look at your joint finances with a partner and seeing what needs to be changed, what needs to be discussed a little more, maybe, so that's definitely things that can happen while the sun is in the 8th. Also, if you don't have a partner, it can emphasize your very deep psychological thoughts. A lot of them can come more to the surface because the sun, is like a flashlight. It's shining a light on the 8th house. And the 8th house can be kind of deep and dark at times, to be honest. So Virgo, if you have any deep, dark thoughts or anything that come up, just make sure you have somebody that you really trust to talk with about these things, to help you through this time of them resurfacing. So if something is resurfacing, it could be because it needs to be finally addressed so that it can finally be flushed out of your life for good, Virgo. So just keep that in mind. The 8th house is also the house of intimate bonds and relationships, and you have had a lot of 7th house energy going on in the month of March and previous, because Pisces is your 7th house, right? 7th house is relationships, like building a one-on-one relationship with another person. And then once you get to the 8th house energy, which is Aries, that's the chance to really bond on that deep soul level and to really get to know a person, like shedding all masks and shedding all insecurities and really opening up yourselves to each other to really get to know each other on the deepest level possible. So this is something that can be highlighted while the sun is still in your 8th house. On the 9th of April, the sun will come in contact with Uranus in your 8th house. Uranus is that energy that's all about sudden events, sudden changes that are unexpected. It's all about being rebellious and doing things totally outside the box, right? And since this is the 8th house, I would say, something transformative can suddenly happen unexpectedly for you. And I don't want you to go into this fear about, oh my God, I'm going to die unexpectedly on the night. No, Virgo. Please do not stress about that, okay? I know you guys can stress and worry a lot, but don't worry too much about that because the 8th house represents so many things, all right? So maybe you suddenly decide, or a partner suddenly decides, to really become intimate, to become one person. Maybe you get sudden news of a benefit that you're owed and you get news that you're going to be receiving it, or an inheritance, so that can also be highlighted with that energy. On the 20th of the month, the sun moves into Taurus, and this is in your 9th house. The 9th house is the house of travel. It's higher education, broadening your horizons, expanding your mind. And it's all about being adventurous and optimistic. So while the sun is there, all of these things can be highlighted for you. You may be planning a trip. You may suddenly want to take a trip, You may want to suddenly get into some classes, some higher education classes, because once you have energy go into the 10th house in May, this is going to be where you're going to have a focus on career. So the 9th house could be where you are training for career, learning new things for career, or taking some classes to enhance your social status and career status. So remember, travel, education, all those things are going to be big focuses for you the last 10 days or so of the month of April. So Venus continues to be in the sign of Pisces for the first 5 days of April, and this is your 7th house. While there have been seventh house energy, you could have had a really big emphasis on relationships, one-on-one partnerships with people, really bonding with someone, getting to know somebody on a level that is very, very pleasant, like enjoying each other's company. Venus moves into Aries on the 5th, and this is your 8th house. So more 8th house energy, more one-on-one partnerships on a very intimate level throughout the rest of April up until we get to the last day of April, which is the 30th. And Venus will move into Taurus on that day, which is your 9th house. So time to get adventurous with your new boo. I don't know, that might be possible. Also, on the 23rd, Venus comes in conjunction with Uranus, and this is in your 8th house. So more sudden events, surprises when it comes to intimacy. And also Venus does represent money, so suddenly receive a benefit or a tax refund that you didn't expect to have a large amount or even a small amount. You know, something unexpected with love, money, relationships, and things that you enjoy can happen on the 23rd. Mars continues to move through the sign of Sagittarius, and this is your 4th house of home and family, okay? And while Mars has been there since the month of March, Mars has been bringing things to your attention around the home, like things that need to be fixed physically, you know, around the home, because Mars is physical action and drive. The 4th house is not only family, but it is your actual home that you live in. So fixing things around the house, maybe you might have been paying attention to those things, and also things that may need to be fixed in your family life. You may have been having a focus on them, or they have maybe just been coming to light. And on the 17th, Mars goes retrograde in your 4th house. That means things coming back. Okay, so if you thought you fixed something around the house while Mars was forward in your 4th house, something may come up again, like, oops, you skipped a screw. So yeah, this is now falling apart that you thought you fixed, Virgo. And I know you guys are super analytical and all about getting things done, completely done, so that could drive you totally nuts, I know. But remember, when Mars goes retrograde, it could be bringing those things back up again. Just take the time to fix them, be your analytical self, and use your skills that you have with being detail oriented to finally get it fixed once and for all, so that when Mars goes forward again, you will not have these issues. But also remember, Saturn is in your 4th house as well, and Saturn started going retrograde at the end of March. So Saturn is that energy that's very stern, and he's all about teaching hard lessons, and he might be putting some hard tasks on you in regards to home and family. A lot of times what I've seen when people have Saturn in the 4th house is they have more family responsibility, okay? Like they may have family members that grow old and need their help, and all of a sudden fall under ill health. And you know, I don't want to scare you, but I'm just being real and honest, which I know Virgos, you guys are real honest people and all about reality. So reality is, yeah, this can happen sometimes with Saturn in the 4th, and with it going backwards in retrograde, there can be some family issues that come back up again that you're going to be tested on again, okay, that you need to resolve again. And but don't worry, because Mars being there, they're both going to be moving, you know, retrograde, bringing things back up. But Mars likes to fix things, okay? He likes to go after problems and say, no, we're going to get this fixed right now. I don't like these problems hanging around. Mars is also a conflictual kind of aggressive energy too. So try to avoid conflicts with family, especially if it's like, you know, in regards to inheritance, maybe because you have some elderly family members that have some issues, and there might be some struggles with inheritance because you have the 8th house energy at the same time. But, you know, this is an opportunity to work those things out with the retrograde motion. Saturn in the 4th house is also an opportunity to build a new home, because Saturn is all about building and structures, including building actual physical structures, you know, brick by brick, piece by piece. The 4th house can represent home. So if you're building a home right now, I will say that there can be some things that come up that need to be addressed again. If you are planning on building a home, I would say during Saturn retrograde and Mars retrograde is not the best time to begin that. However, if issues come up, you do have an opportunity to see them a little more clearly and get them finally fixed. We start out the month with Mercury being in the sign of Aries, and this is your 8th house. And he starts out being right in conjunction with Uranus, the planet of the unexpected, right? So Mercury is your speech and it's how you think. With Uranus being there, it can have you thinking some really off the wall stuff, actually, especially with the eighth house. The eighth house is a very intense energy, and it's like thinking about things that are like way below the surface level, you know, and Uranus can spark some really unique and crazy ideas. So I would say try not to let yourself go overboard. If you have some crazy dreams around that time, you know, just remember this too shall pass. And maybe look for some real messages of insight within those dreams, because Uranus is the planet of the future dweller. You know, it sees into the future. The eighth house is a very spiritual house. You know, it gives insight, like really deep insight into things. So it can be a little bit weird off the wall energy, but it can also be beneficial, especially if you work in any type of field that has like to do with the occult or psychic work, astrology. If you're an astrologer, you will have some great insight during that time. You may be channeling a lot of really off the wall psychic messages. So I would say be careful with that, but also take advantage of it if you're in a field to where you can apply those skills. So Mercury moves into the sign of Taurus on the 5th of April, and this is your 9th house. So Mercury is your thinking, and it's also your skills of the hands, right? So you can be thinking about your higher education, you know, your high-minded goals. Like, where do you really want to go in this life? Are you achieving the highest achievements that you could possibly achieve? You know, have you gotten there yet? If not, how can you get there? That's the energy of the 9th house, because remember, the 10th house is that highest point. That is the goal right there, to be like, you know what? That is the highest place I want to be in such and such career with such and such status or title or honor or whatever. So the 9th house shows you how to get there. So thinking about those things while Mercury moves into the sign of Aries is definitely possible. Or if you're not into, you know, higher education goals, maybe just thinking about traveling somewhere, making plans, because Mercury is an organizer and a manager. He likes to get things done and complete tasks very quickly. So quickly planning a trip is definitely possible with Mercury in the 9th. The 9th house could be pretty blunt when it speaks, okay, if Mercury's in that house. So I would say be careful this month with how you speak to people. Virgos, you already can come off very sarcastic, you know, a lot of times, and be very cynical and critical. While the 9th house energy is there, you may be kind of firing some things off at people if you're not careful. But it is a great time to expand your mind, maybe get into some new books. Some new adventurous books are something to enjoy while Mercury's in the 9th house as well. Mercury goes into its shadow period on the 14th of April. And this is in your 9th house. So listen, Virgo, you guys could be worrywarts, I know, okay? Yes, to be honest, because you like honesty, you will have to worry about your technological devices, okay? Make sure ahead of time, before Mercury goes into shadow, they're in working order. That if you have a phone, you put a case on that phone, okay? Make sure you have a protective case on your phone, your tablet. Make sure that you have virus protection on your computer, all of that stuff. Protect your devices. Also your vehicle. Make sure your vehicle is tuned up, okay, before Mercury retrograde starts. So you guys don't have to worry so much about these things while it goes retrograde, which is actually beginning on the 28th of April. Okay, so since it's in the 9th house, the 9th house is travel. And I know I mentioned already planning trips and things like that with Mercury in the 9th. But because of the retrograde motion, things can go backwards, which means plans can go backwards, which means travel plans, you know, and plans for education. So just be very careful. Read the fine print. Don't commit to something that you know is a possibility that may not fully follow through. Virgos, you guys are very thorough anyway, so you're usually pretty good with that. But remember, while Mercury is going backwards, it can kind of disrupt the things you plan out, okay? You guys are great at planning, but just take all the extra precautions that you can to make sure that things still go right while you have Mercury retrograde in your 9th house. Another planet that is going retrograde beginning in the month of April is Pluto. Pluto is going to go retrograde on the 18th of April, and he's at 17 degrees Capricorn. This is your 5th house. All right, the 5th house is your children, your creative projects. It is if you own your own business, a business that you started from scratch and grew, you know, yourself. It's also casual romantic dating relationships, okay? Pluto is a very intense transformative energy. He will transform you in a way that gets rid of things out of your life that really don't serve you. And it can be kind of a drastic change sometimes, you know. So with it being the 5th house and going retrograde, he's going to kind of be like a plumber and like plunge some things back up to the surface that might be kind of, you know, and make you take a look at it and say, why haven't you fully gotten rid of this? This can be maybe a casual romantic dating relationship that you had in the past, and it was maybe very scorpionic, you know, it could have been very intense and maybe not in a good way, and you're still kind of holding on to those feelings of the past within. This can very well be possible also with Mercury in your 8th house, because the 8th house is thinking about past romantic, deep bonding relationships, okay? So if this happens, just remember, Pluto's not here to destroy your life, all right? He's here to help and bring things up to the surface so that you can look at them and you can finally get them out of your life if they no longer serve you. So that is in regards to Pluto going retrograde. This is a possibility, but also remember, it can be a creative project that maybe you haven't finished yet, but maybe you're shown now that it's something that's not going to transpire, you know, and continue on the way that you would want it to. So you gotta, you know, start from scratch again, burn it down and rise from the ashes again in this regard. So keep that in mind with the Pluto retrograde transit. Now let's talk about the moons. The new moon is on April 7th, and this is in Aries, and this is in your 8th house, and it's going to be in conjunction with Uranus. So a new beginning that is unexpected and out of the ordinary when it comes to 8th house matters. I don't know, it could be that while the 7th house energy was going on in Pisces, maybe you were dating someone and you were unsure, and then all of a sudden you or your partner decide with the new moon energy to have a new beginning and begin a new intimate partnership. So maybe you start a new business endeavor also, where you are joining with another person or another company or corporation with how you earn money. Because the 2nd house is how you earn money by yourself, just you being self-sufficient. The 8th house can be earning money with other people, like maybe hiring people underneath you or going to work with other people and joining together and starting this powerful force that generates revenue together, because the 8th house is a very powerful energy when it comes to finances. So these are a couple of possibilities that can happen with the new moon in the 8th house on the 7th. On the 22nd of April, we have a full moon at 2 degrees Scorpio, and this is in your 3rd house. The 3rd house is the house of communication, which is also the mind, you know, and how you really think about things logically, okay? A full moon is a very emotional day, right? It's like the moon is like dun dun dun, like all huge and scary looking, and you're like, oh my God, you know, have all these emotions coming out of you and everything. So I would just mark the 22nd on your calendar, because the 3rd house is how you speak and communicate. You may be communicating on a more emotional level on that day, but also it's a time for a final decision to be made about something. And 3rd house matters are like communication. It can also mean like your communication devices, you know. So maybe it is letting go of a way that you have been communicating with people. Maybe making a final decision to stop speaking in a certain manner, or to start speaking in a certain manner to where you're more diplomatic or whatever. But also the 3rd house can rule vehicles, ways that you travel short distances, because the 3rd house rules short distance travel. So I would say be very careful, especially with your vehicles, because of the full moon and because we have Mercury retrograde going on in the opposite sign, okay, which also has to do with travel. So traveling for Virgos in the month of April may be a little touchy, you know. You can still do it. I don't mean hibernate in your hole, all worried and everything, not going anywhere, grumbling. I mean, make travel plans, yes. If you can avoid them, avoid them. But if you still have to travel, read all the fine print, Virgo, which you are great at the details. Use those Virgo powers and make sure that everything works out just fine, and I'm sure it will. All right, Virgo, so to summarize and wrap up the month of April for you guys, your biggest focuses are going to definitely be on your 8th house of joint finances, of intimate bonding, and of taxes, inheritances. So be careful in those areas with Uranus being there, because sudden changes can happen, but they can be positive changes as well. Also, your ninth house of education and travel. I would say definitely read all the fine print when it comes to making travel plans if you decide to do so, to make sure that everything still goes smoothly and you can enjoy a great time away, far distances from home, which the ninth house rules. Your third house will be emphasized a little bit towards the end of the month because of the full moon there. And so that is travel as well. So, be mindful of that. And also the fourth house will be emphasized a little bit because of Saturn and Mars. So there may be some conflicts there, some things you need to go back over again. But remember, these planets are here to help you to fix things so your life can go more efficient and smoothly in regards to home and family. And then a little bit, the first 5 days, the seventh house is still going to be emphasized with Venus being in Pisces. So you can still be continuing to enjoy that floaty, fairy-like Venus escapism energy with a partner. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me, Virgo. I hope this was insightful and helpful for you. And remember, hit me up for a reading if you would like one. I can take a look at things for you and bring some more clarity. And that does include personalized monthly horoscopes where I see how things are happening in your unique chart, not just based on one sign, and also how the planets angle each other currently based on your natal chart. It's a little more complicated, but I can do it for you if you'd like. So send me an email, hit me up on livevisions.com. I'll be glad to assist you. All right? Have a great month of April, and I will see you guys in May. Love you guys. Peace.